Of the countless shoulder openers in yoga, there are 4, to my mind, absolute classics. Gomukhasana, Garudasana, fingers interlaced behind the back, and half downward facing dog. Of course, this is not an exhaustive list, but these 4 poses, in a lot of ways, form the canon of shoulder openers in yoga. They are consistently present in many different traditions or styles of yoga. So in this video, I want to give you, in my perspective, updated and refined techniques that's gonna make these poses maximally effective and efficient, and also help you create a little bit more strength in the stretched or in the opened position. First, 2 quick things. If you can like and subscribe to this channel, that helps the channel grow and helps other people find this content. Second, if you wanna learn more and work with me more deeply online, I have all sorts of training content. You can check the links down below. Let's start with eagle arms, Garudasana. Now, I'm going to mainly show this to you seated, but you can do this in all sorts of scenarios. You can do this as a seated shoulder opener. You can do this in Tadasana, in Utkatasana, in Anjaneyasana, in the standing poses like Warrior One, Crescent. So incorporate this work wherever you see fit. To begin, you're gonna take the left elbow on top of the right elbow, intertwine the arms, and intertwine the hands. Now, if you or your students have less flexibility, you can do many of the following adaptations and techniques just by keeping one arm straight and using the other arm to gently pull it in towards you. We wanna lift the elbows slightly up and press them forward. A good guide is the elbow being shoulder height or even slightly higher. Now, as we lift the elbows slightly and press them forward, we're getting more protraction, we're getting more width and opening to the upper back. And this is gonna give us a much more complete and thorough stretch to the back of the shoulders. Now, the second thing that we're gonna do to make things interesting is we're gonna gently squeeze the forearms together. Now, when we squeeze the forearms together and we keep a steady pressure, and you can do this just seated, following along with me, as we keep that squeeze and that steady pressure, we're engaging the muscles that we're stretching slightly, we're engaging them at their end range. And so not only are we creating flexibility here, but we're creating a little bit more proprioception, a little bit more sensory awareness, and a little bit more strength and control. Now, finally, we're gonna take those same forearms, which we've lifted, press forward, squeeze, and we're gonna tilt them slightly to the left. So whatever elbow is on top, we tilt the forearm slightly that direction. So we're putting a little bit of that rotation in. Now, we're gonna tilt our ear the opposite direction. We're gonna take our right ear towards our right shoulder. And everybody, this is so good and so thorough and so updated, right? You're not just kind of like throwing an elbow on top and taking a couple breaths. So from here, we're gonna bring our head back to center, forearms back to center, then we'll release the arms and take the second side. A second way I like to update Garudasana is to add a little bit of cat-cow to the pose. When we add a little bit of cat-cow to the pose, we're putting more spinal motion into the equation, and so the shoulders are starting to move a little bit more functionally with the spine itself. To do that, we can go same arm, we'll go elbow on top, you can just be seated, or you can be in pretty much any standing pose or lunge. We lift the elbows, we press the elbows forward, we give a little squeeze to the elbows, then as we inhale, we're gonna lift the elbows and gently arch our spine. So we're taking the spine into a mild back bend or extension. And then as we exhale, we're gonna draw the elbows down, tuck the chin, round the upper back. So we're getting more scapular broadness, but we're also getting more spinal rounding or thoracic flexion. And then as we inhale, we take the elbows up and away. As we exhale, we hug the elbows down and round our back. So this is a really great dynamic way of working the pose. And those two things combined are so much better than just kind of phoning in an elbow on top, take a couple of breaths here. Now we're gonna look at Gomukhasana, cow face pose. Again, this can be done seated, but you can stack this on top of nearly any standing pose or lunge. Some students may be able to clasp their fingers behind their back. Others are gonna need a strap. I'm gonna show it with a strap. So to begin, we're gonna take our right arm up, our left arm down and back, okay? Now we just pause here for a moment and we're either clasping our fingers behind us or we're holding a belt behind us. And the first thing that you're gonna wanna refine, this is not so much a safety mechanism, it's more an efficiency mechanism. But the first thing that you're gonna wanna refine is that elbow that's up is almost always gonna wing out to the side because that shoulder's trying to avoid some of the stretch, likely of the tricep, maybe of the lats. So we're gonna take that elbow in towards the midline, and we're gonna do the same thing with the bottom elbow. We're gonna take that bottom elbow in towards the midline. So I'll put my arms in front of me. We're trying to bring those arms, both of those elbows in towards the midline. Now, if you get pinch, pain associated with that, of course, don't do that. But we want to hug those elbows as close to the midline as we can. Finally, instead of now just being there, like in Garudasana, you squeeze the forearms together to activate the muscles that we're stretching. I want you to do the same thing with the fingers or the belt. So whatever you're holding on to, create the action of pulling apart, okay? So if you're holding the fingers or if you're holding the belt, with your right elbow, reach up, like the right elbow is trying to press the ceiling, and with the left elbow, pull down. Right? And again, you don't do this really strong, but just a light amount of dynamic tension, creating the action of those arms pulling apart so that you're waking up and giving a little bit of action to the muscles that you're stretching is going to be a much more thorough and sensory present and aware technique. Once you're ready, release that side, nice and easy, same thing on the second side. I would do this, generally speaking, 30 to 60 seconds in most scenarios, but duration I think is a little bit at your discretion as a teacher and as a practitioner. Now, we're gonna look at fingers interlaced behind the back. Everybody, I'm gonna show you 3 different ways of doing this. Fingers interlaced behind the back, but I'm also gonna show you 2 different ways of holding a strap and doing the pose. And in an ideal world, you would do all 3 variations because each one of these variations is gonna slightly hit the shoulders from a different angle. So you're gonna diversify the way you stretch the shoulders. But if you only want to do one, or you can only do the belt-based versions, that's totally fine. Like so many other poses, this can be done just seated, but it's also really effective when you add it to some sort of forward bend. That might be a standing forward bend like I'm gonna show here. It could be a wide-legged standing forward bend. It could be something like humble warrior. And also, to be honest with you, these poses work really nicely just in crescent and in warrior 1. The first way we'll do it is with the fingers interlaced. Now, you might not have the flexibility, or your students might not have the flexibility to do this version, in which case you're just gonna do it with the strap, and we'll get there in a moment. But you're gonna interlace the fingers behind you, okay? Now, you can keep the heels of the hands separate, or you can bring the heels of the hands together. It's the same pose. But if you bring the heels of the hands together, it's a little bit more demanding because as you're bringing the heels of the hands together, the arms are actually coming closer to each other. You can watch me, right? Or you can see yourself. If I'm here and my fingers are interlaced, just imagine they're behind me. My arms have a certain width. But now if I do this, if I bring the heels of the hands together, now I have creating a little bit more adduction of the arms behind me. So that's not better or worse, that's just more demanding. So heel the hands together for more demand, separate for less demand. So from here, we're gonna interlace the fingers behind us. We're gonna draw the shoulder blades down and hug them together. As we do this, we reach the arms back as far as they go within reason. Then once we get to that end point, we stop and we breathe. Now we're gonna make it interesting. We keep that interlace, but just like we've been doing in every other shoulder stretch, we're engaging the muscles a little bit while they're working. So keeping that interlace, create the action of pulling the arms apart. Now, as you create the action of pulling the arms apart, you're gonna feel those outer shoulders light up. The pose kind of goes from black and white to color. It becomes so much more complete. We keep the shoulder blades down, We keep the shoulder blades in, so we keep that scapular control. We're reaching the arms back. We have that finger interlace. We're creating that lateral pull to the arms. We take a few breaths here. Then when we're ready, we come out of the pose. Second variation, or for some, this might be the first variation if those fingers don't interlace behind you. We're gonna hold the belt with our palms facing forward, about hip width apart, maybe a little bit wider for someone that has much more restriction in the front of the shoulders. When we do this, everybody, again, we want the palms facing forward. We're holding the belt behind us, but palms facing forward. And then the first thing that we're gonna do, like last pose, is we're gonna draw the shoulder blades down and towards each other. We reach the arms down, we pull the arms back. Then if we're adding a forward bend, like I am in the demonstration, we come forward. As we do that, we keep the shoulder blades in, the shoulder blades down. We keep reaching the arms back behind us into extension, stretching the front of the shoulder, getting some good strength on the backside. Now, like every other pose, we make it even more interesting by gently pulling the belt. So we create a little bit of dynamic tension in the shoulders by imagining we're trying to gently stretch the belt apart. Don't overdo it, a little bit goes a long way. You feel that, you take a breath or two, and then as you're ready, come all the way up. So sum total, you're looking for somewhere between 4 and 7 breaths, 30 to 60 seconds. Finally, same exact thing, but with the arms internally rotated. So we're gonna hold the belt behind us, but with our hands facing forward. Width of the hands, again, it depends on the width of the body and the flexibility. Shoot for hip width apart. I keep my shoulder blades hugging in. I keep my shoulder blades drawing down, so I have that scapular control. Like we have each time, I'm pulling the arms back behind me, a reasonable amount. No pain, just a good feeling of stretch in front of the shoulders. Similarly, I create a little bit of feeling of lateral pull on the belt. That's gonna complete the pose really, really nicely. After a few breaths, I'm gonna nice and slowly come all the way up and out of the pose. Finally, we're gonna look at half downward facing dog. So we begin on all fours, we take a giant step of our hands forward and then some. Now, as we start to lower our chest and as we start to descend our head towards the floor, we're gonna keep looking at the hands. We're gonna strongly root down through our fingertips and through the base of the fingers. We're even gonna create a slight lift to the forearm and the elbow. This is going to keep the muscles of the shoulders a little bit more engaged and provide some counteraction for the shoulders as they lower. Now, I don't have a ton of flexibility in this range, just a normal healthy amount. So I bring my forehead to the ground, but my shoulders and chest don't come to the ground. There are going to be some students that have much more range, especially more range in the spine itself. But we're not really trying to go into spinal extension. So keep the spine in a little bit more of a neutral position as you root down through the fingers, as you lift the forearms, and as you let those shoulders move down into their stretch position. After a few breaths here, you can lift partway up, and now I like to walk the arms at about a 45-degree angle to one side. So I'm gonna walk my hands to about a 45-degree angle to my right. I'm gonna root down, and then as I lower the chest towards the floor, I'm gonna slightly press my ribs and my shoulders to the left. So I've walked my hands to one direction, and I create a little counter pressure of my shoulders and ribs the opposite direction. It's a really good way to involve more lat elongation. After a few breaths in this pose, again, anywhere between 30 and 40 seconds realistically in a posture like this, we slowly come up, and then as we're ready, walk the hands to the second side and repeat. In each one of these postures, we engage the muscles that we're stretching at least a little bit. This is my strong preference most of the time that I'm creating an elongation through tissue. Again, for me as a yoga teacher, I don't just want to train range. I don't just want to train flexibility. I want to also simultaneously create a little bit more feedback, strength, and control in that position. As always, use your own experience and your own critical thinking to figure out how to best incorporate this work into your classes and into your personal practice. Please like and subscribe to this channel if you find it valuable. It's really helpful to help other people find this content. And then finally, if you want to learn even more and get more support in your practice and your teaching, I have all sorts of training options where we can work together more closely. Check all of that information out below. And as always, thanks for watching and enjoy your practice.